What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so in this particular video, I want to do a review of the movie Emancipation, which came out very, very recently. I saw it yesterday. Of course, this is the new Will Smith movie. I believe this is his first movie to come out since the infamous Oscars brouhaha between him and Chris Rock. I don't even know if you want to call it a brouhaha, because that infers that it was a back and forth affair, when in reality we know that wasn't the case. All right. So, you know, some people complain about the film that Will Smith did, which is quote unquote a slave movie. Then some people are complaining about just these types of movies in general, and it's coming from black people that say they're tired of seeing us depicted as slaves. And you know, if you're going to do a slave movie, then why not more movies like Django? And look, I love Django. A lot of people don't like it. I get it. I understand why they don't like certain aspects of that movie, but I'm like this. Look, when you look at a movie like Django, and when you look at a movie like Once Upon a Time in America, right? Not Once Upon a Time in America, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. These movies are feel-good. These movies are feel-good reimaginings of atrocities. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that's altering history of the Tate LaBianca murders, right? The Charles Manson killings. What if these guys got in the way of that shit and it never happened? And it makes you feel good at the end. And Django, hey, what if a black Jesse James took on slavery, you know, in an unabashed fashion? It makes you feel good, but it's not reality. Okay, movies like 12 Years a Slave and others are close to reality, and it makes people feel uncomfortable because we live in an age of political correctness. You know, people don't want to tell the fucking truth. And from watching Emancipation, which is based upon truth, there's some liberties taken, but it's based upon truth. So anyway, to me, I would give the movie maybe an A-. All right, maybe an A- or something, you know. Is the movie a little bit too long? Not for my taste, but I can understand some people thinking that 2 hours and 10 minutes is a little bit long. But I can see the movie being edited a little bit. I can see certain scenes being edited for pacing, for pacing reasons. But for me, I like long, drawn-out movies. I like the Malcolm X's. You know, it's funny, people don't complain about spending 3 hours looking at a Marvel movie. You know what I'm saying? But basically, this Will Smith's character is based upon a real slave who ran away from the plantation that he was working on. All right? He heard about a Union Army that was about 40 miles, I believe, away from where he was stationed. And that there was a proclamation that had been decreed by Abraham Lincoln. While he was working on the plantation, the slaves were telling him that, did you know that Lincoln freed slaves that were on Confederate land? And that these slaves, if in Union captivity, will be seen as contraband, and thus these slaves could fight. If enlisted in the Army, they could fight in all black regiments with the Union Army, but they'd be free. So, you know, ultimately, he sees a situation where he has no choice. He has to make a life or death decision if you watch the movie. And he chooses to escape the plantation. And when the revolt starts by Peter, I think that's the name of his character in the movie. Everybody leaves the plantation. I would say probably 30% of them get shot before they can even leave the plantation. But some of them, including Peter, escape. Most of them are killed before they can even get, I would say, a mile away. But Peter is determined to get his freedom. He never, ever is broken by slavery. He never is broken by the process, the horrors of slavery. And he was driven by the love of his family and the love to be freed. And ultimately, you know, he shows his smarts. He is, although not academically intelligent, he is just a person who is by nature very clever, very intelligent, and has picked up ways of survivals. And ultimately, he outmaneuvers and outsmarts and with some luck, he's able to survive those who are trying to capture him. And the one thing I think about the thing about this movie that is very, very graphic is it shows the horrors of slavery. You know, a lot of times these movies don't really show everything that happens with slavery. And this movie did. It shows how slaves are literally worked to death. And then, you know, there was no funeral process. There was no honor. You thrown in a pile with other dead slaves. If you weren't working hard enough for the expectations of what they felt that you should be working, oftentimes the most cruel overseers would shoot you because you were worthless. And that's what these movies, you know, it's just, you know, the movie will grip you into the horrors of slavery, and that's what they try to not to let be put out there. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to show the horrors of slavery, but they want you to be mad because Kyrie Irving shared a link to a movie. You know what I'm saying? He has to go through all of these apologies, you know, and mea culpas for that, but they don't want to apologize formally. This country has never apologized for slavery to black Americans, let alone reparations. So anyway, like I said, I give the movie an A-. The only problem I have with it is it could be a little bit shorter. But other than that, man, you know, in this day and age, we got people trying to keep our history from us, keep, you know, the history of slavery and Jim Crow from out of our school books. And you got people out there crying about a movie. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.